Hello, everyone. I'm Chris McPherson here along Radio Row at the Super Bowl in the Mall of America, joined today by Andy Benoit of the MMQB. And Andy, you did a phenomenal piece recapping what Nick Foles did in the NFC Championship game and kind of offered a preview of what the Patriots are going to have to do to slow him down. Can you just kind of give an overview of what's impressed you the most about Foles during this playoff run?
Yeah, and thank you. What let's say shocked me rather than, I mean, he's impressive, but I was shocked at what he did in that NFC Championship. For the longest time, the book on Nick Foles has been the later in the down he goes, the longer the play goes, the worse he becomes. He's kind of a methodical player, both mentally and physically. When he's uncomfortable, he gets even more so that way. And you want to make him hold the ball and have no rhythm. He has to make his own rhythm, and he's not very good at that. That's been the narrative, and that's been true. In the championship game, he did what Carson Wentz has done all season, which is go late into the down and make plays by design. Not just go late in the down, but do it within the pocket, which is really difficult to do. And when you do it within the pocket, you maintain the structure of the play. All five receivers are still eligible to you. You're not running to one side of the field and just looking for a guy. Everyone's still there. The designs still work. The defense has almost no chance. And I didn't ever think we'd be sitting here at the Super Bowl talking about Nick Foles dominating a game by making plays late into the down. I mean, it totally changed everything I was going to write about that game, because someone who's been one way for almost all his career, all of a sudden in a good way was very different.
So what do you think has been the change? What do you think that Doug Pearson and Frank Reich, John DeFilippo, what do you think they did to kind of flip the switch?
Well, I talked to DeFilippo the very next morning and asked him, like, what in the heck was that? And he said he's been working on pocket stuff. He understood he had to get better at it. Moving within the pocket with subtlety and nuance is critical in the NFL, and it's such a fine trait. It's hard to notice. It's what Tom Brady's the best at, and it's why he's been who he is. They've worked on that with Nick Foles and sensing the pass rush rather than seeing it, and keeping your eyes downfield and understanding how everything works together. Foles got better at that in that game. Now the question is, do we believe that's what he is? I mean, I don't think we're going to say that's what he is now and he's a superstar. Hey, here he is. But do we believe he can continue that and continue this growth for this game? Or do we think he's going to be what he's been for much of his career? And that's what the Eagles have to figure out themselves. That's what the Patriots have to figure out. Do we believe in the Nick Foles we've seen most recently or the one we've seen most often?
Andy, there's three magic letters that have surfaced throughout the playoffs for the Eagles. RPO.
Yep.
Break it down, and how do you think that that's had an effect on Nick Foles' performance?
That was big in that divisional round game, obviously, against Atlanta, which we can't overlook that, because without that, there probably isn't a championship game
Certainly.
for Nick Foles. Those run-pass options, they get the ball out of his hand by design. They simplify things because you're often reading one guy, the linebacker. Is he biting on the run? Is he following out on the slant? And we make our decision accordingly. So you remove the QB from the equation almost when you do that, and you also naturally you're marrying your running game and your passing game when you do that. You're getting in a rhythm. When your passing game and your running game overlap, that's where great offense occurs. And we've seen that the best teams are the ones that marry it up. The Falcons were the best I've seen at it last year. The Rams were tremendous at it this year. Philadelphia has a very expansive running game. They can do a lot of things. I've never seen anything like it, in fact. Any kind of run play is in their arsenal. Most teams have to have a narrow identity. So if you can integrate your passing concepts into a running game like that, and you know you've got a quarterback who's more comfortable when the ball's coming out on time, and in his case, on time means very quickly. Early in the down, he's not a twitchy guy, but get him, make your decision and go. That's a plus. And I think we'll see some of that in this game again, especially early on when you try to settle them down, get them comfortable in the Super Bowl.
Andy, we've seen the transformation of what the Eagles have done with Nick Foles. Let's flip to the other team here, the Patriots on defense. Matt Patricia's crew struggled the first couple of weeks of the season. Yeah. They've kind of had to morph throughout the course of the year to get on track. How were they able to do it? Because when you look at the front seven, there's really no stellar playmakers because they lost the Jamie Collinses, the Chandler Joneses of the world. So how have they been able to get things right to get them into the championship game?
Yeah, they're an interesting defense because they line up. They're a bend but don't break defense. We don't think about that with them because when you first saw the Patriots back in, you told me 2004 when you joined the Eagles, they had an unbelievable number of smart, savvy veterans. Mike Vrabel, Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi, tons of guys like that. So they did a lot schematically. They threw everything at you, and you never knew which direction the throws were coming from. And we thought, well, that's what Bill Belichick is. He's a mad genius. Belichick, at his core, is a conservative, defensive-minded coach. He likes cover 2 and 3-4 defense where you're just two-gapping, reading and reacting. That's his foundational belief. And we've seen them over the last few years become a bend-but-don't-break defense. Now, they don't play 3-4 and cover 2. They're a man-to-man defense, but their fronts are they're not static, but they're very straightforward. They don't do a lot of gap switching. They just line up, and I got this gap, you got that gap, and we're going to play. And it works for them. Usually you need great talent. You need your guys' defensive line to play that way, and yet they're able to succeed with what is really below average personnel in the front 7. It's remarkable to see. They're very fundamentally sound. And then you ask, well, what changed for them? How'd they get on track? They do have a tremendous secondary, and they can win one-on-one and man coverage in a lot of different ways, at cornerback and at safety. And that safety is a big one because those tight ends who they match up against, those are usually the guys that the designs are built around in today's NFL, especially with Zach Ertz in Philadelphia. So they have matchup players, and they went to more matchup coverages after that Carolina game where they got exposed. They weren't on the same page in their zone stuff. It was easy to clean up. It's correctable, and they corrected it, and here they are playing very straightforward football deep into the season, of course.
Okay, Andy, last question here. I'm not going to ask you for a prediction. I'm not going to put you on the spot or anything like that because anything other than Philadelphia would be wrong, of course.
Yeah, you're right.
But I will ask you this, Andy. Which individual matchup are you most looking forward to seeing? Which storyline that we're going to talk about all week long are you looking forward to playing out come Sunday?
If Philadelphia is to pull off this upset, the defensive line beating New England's offensive line is going to be a big key. And I think everybody can agree that that's the one area Philly clearly has the advantage. So any matchup within that will be interesting because I'm curious to see how New England, knowing that they can't match up to that D-line, what they do tactically to try to offset that. Now, you have to remove the D-line from the equation now. So the individual matchup on it, Nate Solder versus Derek Barnett on passing downs. Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox inside against those guards on passing downs. That's where a lot of the game will come down to.
Andy Benoit does phenomenal work for the MMQB. Make sure to check out his work. Everyone, thank you very much for joining us here for our continuing Super Bowl coverage here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com.